Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And we thought last week's update was big. We thought the OTA of last Thursday was big. Well, the second part of it dropped with this patch, and it's a nuclear bomb on the meta. Card spam is king. Gone from the game are the days of Wave or Mobius holding you back from playing everything. We're going to review the patch. I've got over 25 decks for you today. We go over every card. We have decks for every single card. In addition, for every single card's deck change, we have cards that were not affected, decks that were not affected, that were made better by the change. That's what we're talking about today. We're going to get started momentarily, but before we do, I'm going to invite you to hit sub on this video. Let's ring that notification bell, leave a comment, hit a like. We bring you at least 2 brand new decks every single weekday. This morning, we reviewed Werewolf by Night. We gave you like 7 or 8 decks for that. Decks for Silk, decks for Ghost Spider. You get more quality decks here than anywhere else. We bring them to you completely free for you to support. Please do so. In addition, we do the biggest giveaway in Marvel Snap every single month. This month, as always, we're giving away 15 season passes for the Ms. Marvel season. The first way you can get that is sub and comment on this video. Every video, as long as you're subbed, that you comment from here until next Monday is an entry to win one of those 5 season passes. Also, live on Twitter right now, over on Snap JudgeCast, and the link is in the description. You can do what that says to win one of 5 more. And on Marvel Snap Zone, going live first thing tomorrow morning will be an article that says how to enter on Marvel Snap Zone to win, you guessed it, 5 more season passes. All good? This is the patch. We're first just going to read through what the heck it is, and then we'll go through them one by one as we go through them. First, Mobius is now an on reveal, and until the end of your next turn, your cards can't be increased and your opponent's cards can't be reduced. That's insane. That's completely different. It's now like only a turn 5 play. It's a turn 5 2/3, which we'll see if that's any good. But that's completely different. That is wildly different. And if you're like me, you read that and your immediate thought is, oh, well, you just play that on 5 with Wave and you can completely shut down your opponent, right? Your opponent also has to be playing Mobius. Otherwise, you get all the cards and they get none of the cards in 5. Nope. Wave got a rework too. Wave is now a 3/5 because they made her weaker. She no longer increases the cost of any cards. Cards are set to 4 if they cost more. She makes their maximum cost 4. So Mobius and Wave have very little interaction anymore. And Wave is just a way to play your cheap cards for less. It's now only a ramp card, not a card lockup. That's completely insane. There's fundamentally one way in the game to stop card spend now. It is Sandman, who got buffed to a 5/4. And that's good, right? Like, we know Sandman at 5/4 and 5/5 is powerful. We've seen it at 5/5. We know how strong that is. We also know that Patriot utterly destroys Sandman. The very best Sandman decks completely fall apart to the best Patriot decks, which means if Sandman takes over the meta, well, Patriot will lock that right up. We also know that Sandman was really great supposedly against Bounce, but Bounce could just straight up beat it half the time anyway. And guess what's back? Beast Bounce. So I'm not sure about this. I think this is the card spam meta of all card spam meta. To further that, we've got Ravonna, who went from a 3/3 to a 2/1 with the same ability, which is just, I think she's a meta card immediately. We're going to look at a million decks with her. And Negasonic no longer blows herself up. She's now a 3/2 that blows up only an enemy card, not herself, once per game. So if you can time her, if you have priority on the last turn, you can deny their last turn play. It's still going to reveal. It's still going to get its on reveal, right? So if it's Doom, it's going to make the Doom bots, but that Doom itself will die. But it also works with Storm. It also works with Surfer. That's a huge change. A week before that Negasonics and Spotlight caches. And then we got 2 small changes. After like 4 that I'm sure are huge, 1 that I think is huge, Negasonic. Ant-Man now works like Dazzler, where if it's the only card in Space Throne, it gets the +4. It's nice, I guess. It's sort of fringe. And Alioth's change is if a goblin reveals first on the last turn, Alioth will not kill that goblin. Alioth now only kills things on the opposing side of the board. So, like, that's a minor change. None of those are huge. All good? Let's keep going. Mobius M. Mobius is a brand new card. I don't think it's necessarily even worth the 3,000 tokens anymore. I think that it's okay, right? But like, when are you using it? Turn 5, okay. So like, if you know your opponent's Sarah, you can play it on turn 5. That's pretty good, right? Once your opponent knows you have it, though, like they just beast out their stuff early. They skip the Sarah, they're fine. When else is this useful? Turn 4, if there's Dream Dimension, if your opponent Icemans, but then you're playing that, and like now you're wasting a turn just countering an Iceman or Icebox. I don't think this is good anymore. I think Iceman is back. I think She-Hulk is back. I think Death is back. I think Abomination's finally gonna have his time to shine. I think we're ready for a new. And we've still got a couple decks where I think Mobius is decent. The first is this bounce deck. On turn 5, a bounce deck that doesn't run Iron Man can often afford to play Mobius. I think that like Mobius being gone basically makes Loki completely freaking bonkers. So being able to be the last deck to Mobius means that bounce has some play. If you can bounce on turn 5, you're getting a 2/3 that can be a 2/5 with Elsa, and that gives you a chance. Not a great chance, and I think they probably just learned to Loki on 4 and then drop all their stuff on 5, but it's got a decent home here, this bounce shell. Again, no Iron Man means it's going to have a little trouble going over the top, but it's bounce, so it should still be powerful. We're going to look at like 6 different bounce decks today. Next up, we have Darkhawk. I think a lot of Darkhawk decks, if Zabu is out, and Zabu is going to be great right now, then your Rock Slide or your Man Thing or your Iron Lad on turn 5 costs 3. Well, then Mobius is your other play on that turn, and now you're set, right? Now you're denying the opponent their stuff, and I think Zabu and Darkhawk and Stature and such are probably going to be back, and Miles Morales Spider-Man is probably going to be back. So like having the ability to do this on turn 5 is powerful. Is it worth the card spot? Not sure, but that this kind of deck is where its home likely is. Next up, we have Wave. Wave is a 3/5 that maxes out at 4. I think Wave might be gone outside of like Red. So let's take a look at some of those. The first is Haivo. So my theory for this deck is that you really wanted Wave to like lock the opponent down for like Cyclops, but now you can drop Wave and Mobius, and you can say, all right, well, you can play all your small stuff, but like your big stuff still costs 6. Have fun. So you can lock out 6 power plays that way, or you can just play Wave, and then you can play Doom, Alioth, or Hulk with like Jeff or Shadow King. And that's pretty damn powerful, right? Being able to Shadow King down a Bounce or a Loki player while also dropping Alioth in another lane or Doom to fill up stuff or Hulk to be a bajillion power is very strong. So there is a home for Wave in this High Evolutionary build. I would not be shocked if this deck once more. We've got Move Wave, which is the same fundamental basic concept. This can, again, do the Mobius and Wave thing at the end, but then you can go Alioth or Doom, or Arrow, and you can play Jeff or Nightcrawler or whatever, Craven, whatever. Yeah, that like this is again not like unbelievable, but this is what Wave is now. I think Wave is probably better in this High Evolutionary deck, which has been chased from the meta completely for a while, than it is here. But I'm not 100% sure. Like maybe if you add Luke and Shadow King here, this could be. We have Death Wave. I'm not sure how this works. Does it make that Death or She-Hulk 4 and then it gets lowered from there or not? We'll have to find out. If it does, then this Death Wave is back. This is a standard Death Wave. I threw X-23 in because it can be destroyed a bunch of times, give you the extra energy you need. Look, a Wave and Carnage, if you don't have She-Hulk, is going to be stellar. If you can play Death and Alioth at the end of the game, you probably win that game of Snap. If you can play Death, Alioth, and She-Hulk, which may be possible, we'll have to see. If Death is free, She-Hulk is 2, Alioth is 4. I mean, you're going to be really strong, right? Especially because like you can always like end up playing a demon. Your Venom should be reasonably big. Bucky is a 6 power card. There's a lot to like here. There's a lot of things to do. Death will at least get cheap. This is one of the first things to test out. Next up, we have Sandman as a 5/4. Wave goes in Sandman decks, so I try and build like a progression in here where like Mobius is in a lot of Wave decks, and then Wave is in a lot of Sandman decks, so we're going to keep going. Sandman as a 5/4 is a better card. Is it enough better? No. I would almost bet no. I mean, look, I would literally bet the answer to that question is absolutely. The first place I want to go is Galactus. I think that People are going to be playing bounce. They're going to be playing a lot of weak stuff early to try and set up late game card spend. So Galactus and Alioth should win games. I think that this is going to be especially true once Ms. Marvel comes out. We're not there yet. She's not out yet. But once Ms. Marvel comes out, this kind of deck just becomes completely insane. You can add goblins here if you prefer to the Panther Zola package. But something like this is a really Sandman. I think it's going to be very strong. This is, again, where I plan to start. Next up, we have another version of this. This version forgoes the Galactus package and instead says, well, let's just add a few extra cards to control things. I've also got the Mobius Wave if I want to later on in the game. Right? If I have my Mobius out, I guess that doesn't super work. You can't Mobius and Wave together early, so it's not great. But look, it's another play pattern for Sandman. There's a lot of ways to build this. This deck is going to be in the meta because something has to counter all the card spam we're going to. That's it. That's it for like slowing things down. Everything else, we've got like 2 things that don't matter, and then we've got a million decks that just get so much better. So Ant-Man, I talked about this deck yesterday. This is in Terabang's list. It's a Spectrum Thanos list. It's really strong. Ant-Man is great here. I don't have any other Ant-Man lists. Ant-Man hasn't actually changed the way it's used. That it goes in Space Throw now doesn't change a damn thing, really, right? Like, how often are you really throwing your Space Thrown? So Ant-Man is better now in one very specific instance, and it's good in this one very specific deck. Outside of this deck, is it a card you play? Not if you're not in pool 1 and 2. Alioth is nothing new. You've seen him in a bunch of decks. He's literally in like 3 decks ago. Oh, there you go. Alioth, nothing has really changed. Goblins get a little better against him. Doom is already good against him, stuff like that. We don't care about this change as a general rule. It's nice to see Alioth get slightly weaker, but kind of whatever. Goblins are better, though. And they're better because of 2 cards away. They're better because of Ravonna Renslayer. But let's talk about Negasonic Teenage Warhead first, who again is in Spotlight Caches with Alioth. So my first thing I thought of was Kraken Null's deck, the Silver Surfer deck. I actually literally talked about this deck this morning. It's a Werewolf by Night deck now, I think. I just think Negasonic goes really, really well with Storm and really well with Surfer, right? It's basically a second Juggernaut for that matchup. They try and play in that lane. You've got a Negasonic. The thing they tried to play explodes. It's even better than popping it away with Juggernaut. That explosion won't pump Werewolf if you do it on an off turn, but you know what? You win some, you lose some. This is still extraordinarily powerful. That it can be a 3, remember it's a 3-2 now, so that it can be a 3-4 is very good. It's not, again, not going to trigger Werewolf, but you can move, like if you throw an Iron Fist in that lane, like it's only blowing up opponent's card, so you can happily play over it. So like you can just drop your Werewolf by there and then play a Iron Fist elsewhere, Iron Fist in and out of that lane, and so on and so forth. It's really going to be good here. I think there's a lot to like about this deck. Nico being 2 on reveals for Werewolf, and then like Werewolf getting huge, and if they want to kill it, they're gonna eat what they killed it with Negasonic. Very powerful deck. Next up, again, updating this morning's decks. Sarah wasn't in this, Absorb Man was, but like, I don't know, I feel like I should probably be playing Sarah right now, given that like almost nothing stops her. Goose and Jean Grey are phenomenal. They basically say you have to play a cheap card in this spot. You cannot play an expensive card if it's not with the cheap card, which is stellar, right? Like that means on the last turn of the game, if you have an Ant-Man in hand, you're playing against Thanos, right? Thanos is everywhere. If you have an Ant-Man in hand, they have to play their cheap stuff. They cannot play Alioth. It's really, really, really good. But more than that, if you could just drop, if you've got priority and you drop a Negasonic there, whatever nonsense they play is dead. Or you just Gene and don't play Goose there, play Goose somewhere else, so you know they have to play their big thing in Gene. You have priority, drop Negasonic. Enjoy yourself, win. You've also got Werewolf with a bunch of move cards, being able to move things all over. It's possible this should run Craven because of that. I'm open to the idea of that being in place of Killmonger. And then the rest is just a good Surfer package. You can play Werewolf on the last turn of the game, right? You drop Werewolf, then you drop, I don't care, Brood, and then you drop Surfer. Your Werewolf by Night is now a 3/7, 3/9. That's pretty damn good. That's Maximus as like a downside for Werewolf. I feel like I like that play. All right, Den Surfer. Den had an old Surfer build that I liked a lot. It was a Storm Juggernaut Surfer control build. I threw Werewolf in that too, because like, why would I not? You can Shadow King, lower their stuff, and the Werewolf will jump over there at the end of the game, which is kind of fantastic. Another Serralist, this one throws Absorb Man in, so it can do the Forge, Brood, Absorber Man high roll. Why not give ourselves the option for that? And it's got the Storm Juggernaut or Storm Negasonic. It's also got just get Werewolf by Night super damn huge and win that way. So there's a lot of different ways to win games of Marvel Snap with this deck. I got an Infinite Border with this deck earlier, and I think that Negasonic might bring it back. It was running Leech in the 5 spot, and I never really liked Leech. So I just throw Negasonic in that spot where I can go, all right, cool, Gene, Cosmo, now you can't do anything, but you have to play there. Cool. But you play your big thing, right? Okay, Negasonic. Next, that's dead. And or I can drop Wave there, right? And just say, let's go. Now I can play Hulk there and Jeff somewhere else, or Jeff there and Hulk somewhere else, whatever the case may be. Now I have that extra energy. If I go Hulk and Misty, right? That's amazing. There's a lot to like again about this. This is one of the first things I plan on trying. This is one of my favorite decks ever, and I miss you, Fazer, if you're watching. Finally, we're on to Ravonna. 2-1, completely silly how strong this card is going to be. You're going to see how many different things this hits. I didn't even include a junk deck because as I was making the slideshow, junk didn't occur to me. And then I talked to Den for a little bit, and Den was like, junk. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Just goblins with this is going to be completely insane. So, yeah, Ravonna Renslayer, 2-1. Welcome to the meta. So, this is one of the first places to start. This is a nice, simple deck. If you make sure you have enough power, Iron Man and Mystique are going to be nuts if they cost 2 less. If they cost 1 less, and then Zabu can cost 2 less. Jubilee costs 2 less. That's a lot of power. You should be able to, if you see Jubilee, basically go through your whole deck here. Right? Like if you go if you see Ravonna, right, then you're gonna just cycle through your deck insanely quickly. You're gonna stop them drawing, you're gonna throw rocks in their deck. You've got a lot of powerful things to do. Again, my concern with this deck is that Iron Man and Mystique don't have enough power to grab, so you kinda need Darkhawk or to copy Darkhawk, but fine. This should be sick anyway. You could conceivably, by the way, cut Iron Man for Absorbing Man and just put more rocks in their deck and go all in on the thing. It seems like it's probably pretty good. Although it's a little dangerous with Jubilee, I guess. I think it might be worth it. Might just be really. We've got our MODOK Zola. This list is sick. Some may remember that it's basically trying to on turn 5 Zola a Dakin, and then turn 6 MODOK to make a bunch of giant Dakins. You can make 32 power Dakins and just win the game. It's real nice. And if you don't have priority, and you shouldn't have priority, because you're basically playing a 3-4, a 6-0, and then nothing else until a 5-8. Almost nothing stops it, right? Like as long as you can get that MODOK off, you're fine. You're gonna have a bajillion power on that Dakin, and it's gonna win games. The rest of the deck is fine, right? Like we don't really care about Ravonna besides that, except 3-cost Dracula is not bad. You're like you can still 3-cost Dracula, 5-cost Zola, make 2 Draculas, and if the last card in hand is Apocalypse, that seems like it's pretty decent too. Swarm is another big winner, by the way, of the MODOK nerf. Swarm is now just fantastic. We've got a Patriot list. This is more like it. I think this is probably better than that first list, but I mean, Patriot buffs Sinister, Patriot buffs Brood, and like you've got the Forge, Brood, Absorb Man, high roll here. You've got a 2-cost Patriot, a 2-cost Mystique, a 4-cost Iron Man, a 4-cost White Tiger here potentially with Ravonna. You can Surfer for extra power. This deck fell out of the meta with the Forge nerf. I think this might put it back, or this version might be back on the top of the meta. I think there's a lot to like here. It's White Tiger is a different kind of high roll for the deck, right? A 4-cost White Tiger and then Patriot at the end of the game. It's like, sure, I'll just add 10 power to it. It's pretty nice. I don't know what else to say. This deck is going to be really good. This is one of the first places to look as well for Ravonna. If you don't have her, start saving tokens. She's worth having now. Ravonna try one. I played a lot of this deck early on, the week before Mobius came out, and it was great. Basically, I used Loki as a high roll for when I wasn't seeing my stuff, and I see no reason I can't do that again, right? Like if I'm seeing my stuff, I don't ever need to Loki, but I can also, like if I've got Zabu and Sarah out, right, then I can spend my last turn with a 2-cost Loki a 1-cost Darkhawk if I've also got Ravonna, and just be like, and a 1-cost Mystique. I can play Loki, um, Darkhawk, Mystique, and that's what, 2, 3, 4. That's only 4 of my energy. That's stupid, right? Like if I've got Collector out and I've got a huge Collector, I've got Darkhawk, I got Mystique, and I still have 2 energy left for like whatever Snowguard, Korg. It's yeah, this is disgusting. This deck is gonna be sick. It was so freaking good. For that 1 week it existed. Welcome back to the meta to this beauty. We've got Owl Darklad. This is Owl God's deck that he won a bunch of affinity tickets with. It was running Jeff in the 2-cost spot. I figured Jeff should just be Werewolf because it gives me another high power thing to do. If I don't have a play on 3, and very often I'm just like dropping a Cosmo on 3 if I don't have Rock Slide, right? I just go, okay, Werewolf, and then I go, if I had Ravonna, right? Like now I can go like Black Widow and another 3-drop on 4. Black Widow and Rock Slide on 4. 2 different spots, and now I've got a 7-power Werewolf that's just bouncing around, right? And then I can go Absorb Man and throw another 2 rocks in there. And then because I've got Ravonna, I can end with Darkhawk and Mystique. That seems good. That just seems good. Ravonna is going to change a lot of things. Welcome to a lot of new stuff to do. This is Kraken Null's Junslayer, which we had to stop playing when Mobius came out. No longer. This is back to being completely sick. It can even keep Mobius in it. Doesn't have to, but can. I mean, Ravonna for 2 here, right? Like you go Zabu and then Ravonna and Korg, and or vice versa, and then you're like, all right, 4-cost Hobgoblin next. 2-cost Green Goblin with 3-cost Silver Samurai, and now I'll bring back a Darkhawk at the end of the game and just have fun. This is another just beauty deck. Silver Samurai is really, 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 really good against Shuri Red Skull because you might know this, but Taskmaster has 0 power. So Silver Samurai basically always hits it, and that gives you a positive matchup into one of the best decks in the game. So, hooray for this deck. More. Bounce time. I feel like she might be decent in this sort of bounce shell. This is a disruptive bounce. Welcome back to Iceman. Welcome back to Spider-Ham. This is basically saying, okay, so you've got Iceman and Spider-Ham and Korg and Rock Slide happening to all your stuff, and I can bounce it and do it again. And then when I want to play my Iron Man and Darkhawk, they are cheap. Or my Widow is 1. I can make my Widow 0 with Beast. I don't know. That seems good. If I can end my bounce game by going Darkhawk, Mystique, or Mystique on top of all my other stuff, I'm usually pretty happy. This is Ravonna is again going to be sick. All right. And then we've just got a bunch of decks that are freed from all like real counters now that are just going to be really. So let's look through these 2 really cool things. First and foremost, we've got Lambie's Loki, which now runs Quinjet. Welcome back, Quinjet. No more relevance for Mobius and stopping Quinjet means, well, Quinjet is just back. And the best deck in the game, Loki is like top 4 in the game, 5 in the game. This deck, like the whole game, like no country is worried. But this deck is now just yikes good. I basically just said, screw Jeff, I'll just run Quinjet and let's go to town. This is the best deck in Marvel Snap until further notice. If there was a tournament tomorrow, I would put money on a deck that looks an awful lot like this, winning it. I have Eva's list. This is, again, like these lists are sort of homogenizing themselves. This one has Cosmo and Sentinel and Coulson in it instead of like Falcon and Rogue. I don't know if you still need Rogue, but I think we're going to see a lot of Darkhawk, so I don't hate it. Gross, right? Like, even if you're just using Quinjet on Coulson, that's so powerful with Collector as back as a 2-2. These are the best decks in Marvel Snap, again, until further notice. I think the Ravonna stuff has a shot, but if they can play your Ravonna stuff at -2 cost, like your -1 cost Ravonna just doesn't look as good. We've got Nico Wolf. This is my bounce Wolf deck. I basically put Wolf in over Bishop because I'm going to be playing on reveals, and like 2 on reveal triggers, and Werewolf is as big as Bishop most games. And if I get 3, it's bigger than Bishop most games. That seems like it's probably pretty good. I'm going to need a little space. It's probably not going to grow a lot at the last turn, but if I get it out on 3, it's going to grow like more. Like I get it out on 3, I play a Forge in one spot, a Beast in another, and now it's at 3-7. And then on turn 5, I drop another couple of things, right? I drop a hood and a Nico, and now it's a 3/11. Like it's probably good for Marvel Snap, and then I've got Hitmonkey for similar power. Um, yeah, that's probably good. And like Beast makes the 1/0 again. And if the ones are 0 again, then bounce is completely absurd. That's kind of it. Lambie Rogue, this is the Lambie specific version. Um, this one could figure out like maybe Falcon's not as good as um Ravonna here, because like even if I'm just getting a 2-cost bishop and a 4-cost Iron Man, like you better have Rogue or you're in so much trouble if I have a 4-cost Iron Man. Then I've just got a billion other cards to play that have a billion power, right? Like Fast is here, so maybe you don't want Ravonna, but like then you just sort of choose which one you want. Or like you can play a bunch of your cards and then bounce pass back. You can then fast up your Mysterio and Hitmonkey and stuff. I don't know. This is nasty. I don't know what else to say, but this is nasty. These are going to be some of the best decks in Snap. I think this one is probably better. I think Werewolf by Night's power in this deck is cannot be over. Let's keep going. Rocco Sacco, who's a fantastic tournament player, constantly places with this deck. And it just got better because now She-Hulk will basically always be cheaper. So if you can lock in that magic play with Legion or Leech, ideally Leech, then you're going to get your She-Hulk last turn off. You can throw Infinite in if you want. You don't need to. You can keep Mobius for some shenanigans so that your stuff can get cheaper and their stuff can't. Just this deck is nasty good. I don't know what else to say about it. It's back in the meta. I was on a podcast last week with Educated Collins and Called Me Sal. We called this the #1 sleeper deck in the game, and it just got better. Elsa Sarah has been powerful from the jump. It's better now. You just sort of do this nonsense, and like your opponent can't really stop you. You Sarah, unless they have that one specific turn, they're going to spend their turn 5 stopping your Sarah. You're going to have a 2-cost Hitmonkey, a 1-cost Mysterio, a 1-cost Shadow King, a 1-cost Luke Cage, etc., to play at the end of the game. So 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm still not even at 6. So we can throw a kitty in there too. Why not? Like, that's a ton of power on Bishop. That's just game winning. It's backbreaking. It's more power for Elsa because you're filling lanes. God forbid you Bast first. This is sick, right? This kind of deck is going to be great. It may want Killmonger if bounce. I think it is. We'll see. We've got Sarahawk. Why not combine Sarah and Dark? They've always been good together. They're probably still good together. This is the build I would start with. Again, Killmonger's probably good right now. Darkhawk at least has the potential to be more power for you than for the opponent, so that's what that is. Sentinel, make sure you have cards to play, and Enchantress is going to have a lot of targets. Good decks. Good decks abound. High Evo combo. If the opponent doesn't have Luke Cage, this is probably completely freaking. You get a double Abomination, double Shield. Let's go to town. While Cyclops is knocking power off, Scorpion is like a 2/7 very often, which isn't a 2/8 like Elsa, but hey, man, 2/7's nothing. Sniff at. Sunspot gets big, Misty gets big. Does this want Rogue over something? Maybe, but like it probably doesn't have to. Maybe over Wasp. This is Den's deck. Wasp is here because it's really, really good with Moon Girl because you can sort of chuck it to not have to double it with Moon Girl. But this is going to be also completely insane. Yeah, I think it probably throws in Rogue, maybe Enchantress for that Luke. But like that's the only thing that stops this. This deck is going to be nuts. All right. Hopefully you found some sick decks here because like I think the meta's turned on its head. I don't think we know what the most powerful thing is, except I bet you it's Loki because they're whatever your most powerful thing is, except now at -2 cost. Welcome to the new Marvel Snap friends. We'll be back tomorrow with 2 brand new decks, and we'll see you. Peace.